my third time recording this, so sorry if I just run through the beginning. Okay. In 1868, we had the Emancipation Proclamation. That was a document that freed all the Southern slaves in the South. But really, it didn't really do nothing because, all the slaves in the South were technically in a whole different country at the time. So they wasn't about to listen to what some other country said for them to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, who the... You know what I'm saying? Not until the 14th Amendment. That is when all of the slaves in all parts of everywhere of America were freed. Talk about a dub, right? No. There was no dub ever obtained, okay? Slavery did not go nowhere. We still got slavery till today. There is still slavery till today. You think you're free? If you're white, you probably are. So lucky you. But if you're black and you're watching this, you're not free, okay? We both know what's up. I could say that. Hello? Anyway. Anyway, I'm gonna just continue on. History is repeating itself, baby. So I don't know how else I'm supposed to put, like, I could sugarcoat it and say all these nice stuff and say, civil rights. No, none of that is really working. None of that has actually come into effect. Nothing is working. Hello? What are we supposed to do? Like, real rap, what are we supposed to do? Like, nothing is working. So we're gonna continue on. I'm getting so off topic. Okay, so 14th Amendment. Yes, it freed all the slaves, supposedly. It really didn't do nothing. Okay, after the 14th Amendment, you got things like sharecropping, right? And you got convict leasing, which is another thing that I'm about to talk about. Okay, so during this time, you also have stereotypes, really negative stereotypes that are portrayed by white people who are trying to permanently second class the black Americans, which obviously didn't work. But yeah, by this, they're trying to, justify all the negative, all the bad that they have been doing to us. So they'll say things like, black men are rapists, and then black women are loud and ghetto and all this stuff, when statistically white men are more rapists, have more rapists, or whatever. I don't know how to grammarly correct that sentence, than black men. You get what I'm trying to say. Okay, after the end of the Civil War, there was no end of slavery. There was no official end of slavery. I want y'all to understand that. Slavery is still going on till today. As you're watching this, someone is being worked for without getting the proper payments. Because slavery still exists today, and it's not funny. I don't know why I laughed at that. That is not funny. It's actually really sad. Really sad. 200 years ago, you guys was literally scrapping, fighting whole fights over this just to keep this going. And I'm not even surprised, because let me tell you something. The American economy wasn't about to just let go of that free labor like that. All that free labor that they got out of all of those slaves back in the day, they just could not let go of that. So I'm not surprised, disappointed, but not surprised. So, we're just going to continue on. All right. So 1896, you got Plessy versus Ferguson, which legalized segregation. Yay, we love that. Yeah, Plessy versus Ferguson legalized segregation. That's where the infamous separate but equal quote comes from. We both know nothing was equal about that separate but equal. And let me tell you something. I highly want to bet that if everything was actually separate but equal, the whites would have been really mad about that at the time. I really have to say at the time, but I know some people who are still mad. But we're going to continue. After that, you got the Brown versus Board of Education. That was a very big turning point in black history. You know what I'm saying? We could finally go to school with the other people. We lit. That actually really, really impacted us. That gave us a major chance, to go out there and be, actually have a shot equally, like a more equal of a shot, because you got segregated schools, you got segregated people, and then at the black schools, it's like the teaching is bad. They're not teaching the same things. But you know, history never really ends. So just like they ended Brown versus Board of Education, schools and like places that aren't fully developed or places that are run down aren't the best. They are actually really bad. They do not teach the same things. They don't give the same opportunities as they do to kids who are rich and white, basically. Rosa Parks. We all know what she did. We knew what she did back in elementary, okay? She did not get up. My lady decided to sit down and stay seated. And because of that, I am here today. Because of that, I'm talking the way I'm talking right now today. So kudos to her. But let me tell you something. Rosa Parks wasn't even the first to do that. The first lady who originally did that, she's not in the textbooks. They don't want to put her in the textbooks. They don't want to talk about her. They didn't say that she started off the civil rights movement. You want to know why? Because she was a black, dark-skinned woman who was pregnant. I think she was 15 years old. This is off topic, not like this isn't really pertaining to this. But what I've heard about that is crazy. This is crazy. You never really think about how much the government influences our history and what we're taught, which is crazy. Very much crazy. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to get back on topic. I'm talking about a whole other thing right now. Anyways, Rosa Parks supposedly, I'm just playing. Rosa Parks, you really did your thing, man. She started the civil rights movement, right? And yeah, after all of that jazz, President Kennedy decided to sign the Bill of Civil Rights Movement, and everything was supposed to be okay and dandy. Everyone's equal and living in harmony and smiling and happy and stuff. No, none of that actually happened. Let me talk to you about two common practices that are supposed to be fixed but are still going on today. You would have thought after all of that whole 7 minutes of black history, all of that, you would have thought it would have been good by now. But let me tell you something. This black history isn't even 100 years old, boo. Like, this just happened like 70 years ago. You got people still alive today, walking around the streets today, probably not walking, probably in crutches, but, still walking around the streets today that experienced and went through all the things that I'm talking about right now. So if you really think that 70 years ago doesn't influence what's going on today, you're crazy. You're crazy. Nothing is equal. I'm lucky to say that I'm a blessed black person and I am good with where I'm living and how I am. And I still don't have all of the opportunities that a white counterpart who is broker than me, who has less money than me, who doesn't have as much as me. I have less as an opportunity than them because they are white. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's never been equal. It's never going to be equal until we decide to change the things that I'm about to talk about right now. Okay, so discrimination and mass incarceration / police brutality. Those two things right there are one of the main contributors to why blacks are still seen as second class, as to why Americans are still seen as lesser, which is, it hurts to say. It really does hurt me down to my core, but it's still seen as lesser compared to other people. We're going to talk about discrimination and racism, okay? All right. The Plessy versus Ferguson. It all started with Plessy versus Ferguson. When they legalized that segregation, when it was made legal throughout the whole of America, that's when it all went down. The Civil Rights Movement and the 14th Amendment didn't really change anything, didn't really get rid of any problem. You know, what they did is just turn to convict leasing and Jim Crow laws. So, you know, like, you thought that everything was going to change and get better. Nah, lied. An example of this would be SB 1070, which gave the police the right to stop anyone that looked like an immigrant. That is discrimination at its finest. You're telling me just because I look like I'm from another country, the police has the right to stop me? And that's not racist. That's not discrimination. Okay. Communities of color are constantly way more underwatched than white people. And I can tell you this for a fact, okay? I live in a white neighborhood. I live in the whitest part of Georgia. But my friends, they're not as financially there like me, so they're not living here, you know? They're not living in the best parts. I'm not gonna say where they live is like run down and horrible. No, it's not that. But they're not living like with white America, basically. And I can say for a fact that there's a lot more police in parts like, I don't even know, like Swanee is an example. Not really run down, but you know, heavily concentrated with a lot more black people. And who else? I could also say, you know, just areas like the hood concentrated with a lot more black people than areas like Hamilton Mill. Perfect example. It is very rare for me to see a police officer in Hamilton Mill. But let me go to Swanee. It is a surprise if I don't drive past a police officer in Swanee, you know what I'm saying? So that's just an example of that discrimination. And racism and discrimination, it hasn't gotten worse over the years. It's just actually getting filmed, and people are actually now wanting to talk about it. And you know, with resources just like the internet, we actually have time to speak out, and people can hear our voices on how horrible these topics really are, you know? And it's not even the government. You go to a hospital, we get unequal treatment at hospitals. Just because of my skin color, I'm less likely to get a kidney transplant. I am also, they think that I'm physically and mentally stronger, so they're not going to tend to me as much as they would tend to my other white counterpart. You know what I'm saying? Like, we bleed the same. You cut me, I'm gonna bleed red. You cut a white person, they gonna bleed red. So it don't make no sense to why you can't just help me the same way you was gonna help them. We not asking for no special treatment. We not asking for nothing. We're asking for equal rights. That's it. Equal rights. Equal treatment. That's all we've been asking for. And it's just crazy how it's like, how hard is it to treat someone equally? You know what I'm saying? It's not hard. It's not hard. It's not hard. But yeah. Blacks are 2 times as more likely to die from COVID than white people. And why is that? How does my skin color affect COVID? Okay. Skin color. Disease. The disease is not racist, love. The disease is not sexist. The disease is gonna go after anybody, okay? So all this rah-rah that this government is talking about some black people are 2 times more likely to die from COVID, that is simply just not true. Simply not true. See, they don't want to really talk about what the hospital is really doing to us black people. Hello, perfect example, MLK Jr. They killed him. Straight killed him in a hospital. My man's died in a hospital. They kill him in a hospital, and they want to blame the man that shot him. Child. Ooh. I'm getting heated to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't no black, loud, ghetto girl, okay? I'm just a very emotional, when it comes to black rights, I'm a black person, so of course I'm gonna stand up for it. You know what I'm saying? But we about to talk about the second topic. We got mass incarceration and police brutality. Okay, so I kind of already touched about this a little bit when I was talking about, the police being more heavily in hoods and areas that aren't really funded by the government rather than the white civilizations. Blacks have always been seen as villains, always in history. You cannot name one civil rights activist that hasn't been seen as a criminal or as an enemy, public enemy number one to Americans' government at one point. You cannot name not one civil rights activist. White people, you can look at white people history. Not all of them got arrested, you know what I'm saying? Not all of them been to jail, you know what I'm saying? Some of them been to jail, but it's not because of the same reasons to why black people go to jail, to why civil rights activists go to jail. It's not for the same reasons. Definitely. Most definitely not. The U.S. has the highest incarceration rate in the world. In the world. And guess who's mainly in those incarcerated, basically? People who are being watched way more than, the other counterparts. It's just crazy how when you really got white people doing the same thing as black people, but because I'm black, I'm going to go to jail more, you know what I'm saying? That just makes no sense. Black history has always been tied with jail times. Civil rights activists were always seen as criminals. You know what I'm saying? An example of this is the Children's Crusade, when a non-violent black protest by black kids turned into violent white resistance from police officers. Crazy. That is sickening. Sick. That made white America really turn an eye and look at themselves. You're fighting a war on terrorism, but you can't fight the own war going on in your own country? You're crazy. 1970, that is when it all started. The era of mass incarceration. War on crime was a disguise. That was a disguise. I don't care. That was a disguise. The real war was on black political movements. That's what the real war was. The federal government is more involved on cracking down crack in black areas and black hoods rather than coke heavily distributed in white places, basically. In 1994, the federal government passed a bill which expanded the federal prison system, which is just exactly what we needed, right? Right. You know what I'm saying? Corporations get rich off of jails being full. So if you thought this change of just mass incarceration was going to change overnight, no. Nah, that ain't gonna happen. If you got companies like the CCA, companies, big multi-billion-dollar companies making a lot of money of keeping these people in jail, you really think that they gonna stop anytime soon? No. That's why you have to call them out. You have to call all these companies before and make them realize what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? We have to spread awareness. Once we keep spreading awareness, then it's gonna stop. It's gonna have to stop. If everyone keeps speaking about it, if everyone is saying something, then it has to stop. You know what I'm saying? The CCA was the first private prison system. It makes more money with more inmates. The plea bargain is a perfect example of increasing the number of inmates, increasing the number of incarceration. Most black people who are poor and get caught into situations with jail, they do not have enough money to take their situation to court. So they'll just take a plea bargain, which is sick. You will rather send an innocent man in jail because he doesn't have enough money to go to court. Rather, honestly, it's just crazy. The plea bargain is just a very crazy concept. Definitely made to target black people. Definitely. Mass incarceration drives police brutality. The police see nothing wrong with what they're doing because they look back and see all those inmates and they think that we're just potential inmates running outside. That's what they see us as. So that has to change. That has to change. Police brutality can only be changed by reforming and defunding. We need to defund the police department and put it into other places. Put it into other organizations that are actually helping the community instead of harming. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, the police force helps the white community. We need funding that helps all communities, not just white people. Another thing, you know what I'm saying, is poverty. Poverty is extremely big in black communities. It is crazy. It's not even crazy because we never got a head start. You know, our white counterparts, they have a head start. You know what I'm saying? They have, you know what I'm saying, from birth, they have that extra head start. From birth, we didn't. You know what I'm saying? From birth, we were held back. So we really need to spread awareness on this so this doesn't continue happening. You continue this happening, this cycle is going to keep growing. You know what I'm saying? During this war crime era, poverty increased in places of heavily concentrated with people of color. And the reason why is because when you have police running through and ransacking all of these places and arresting a lot of people who cannot go to jail, who cannot pay to take their court case to trial, now they have to go to jail, is making these places poorer because now you have, let's say, someone who was fending for the family, someone who was the head of the house, who was paying the bill. Now they are arrested. Now you have someone that was taking care of 7 people and now they don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? And it just creates this chain reaction that white people are overlooking because they don't care about it because it's not them. So, you know what I'm saying? If they don't want to care about it, that's fine. But what we need to do is we need to bring awareness to this and stop it. And you can't fight fire with fire. You know what I'm saying? Last year is a perfect example of fighting fire with fire. And this is why I strongly do believe that is why they passed the Stop Asian Hate bill before they passed any African American bill. Because we decided to fight fire with fire. You know what I'm saying? And I'll get into that after this. But, places of poverty have cheap houses, but what they'll do is they'll make the taxes high and they'll place it with bad schooling. You know what I'm saying? And there won't be a lot of places, you won't have a lot of stores or things or fast food, or there won't be a lot of those places around places with poverty because they're not government funded. The government isn't really trying to help those places. And once you're into poverty, it's hard to escape it unless you have that mindset. You know what I'm saying? Another thing is terrorism. And going back to what I said about last year, I really feel like one of the things why we haven't been so successful with the black cause is because we're trying to fight fire with fire, which never works. You know what I'm saying? You have African Americans out here terrorizing, burning down, and breaking down places, and it's They were literally doing that to us. You know what I'm saying? So it's not bad that we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? We built this. You know what I'm saying? We was the ones slaving. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's bad, it's wrong, but it's like there's gonna be no effective change from that. Nothing's gonna change from us doing that. And the reason why is because we're trying to fight with their own tactics. We need to learn, we need to realize what we did last time. The civil rights movement, there was something in that movement that worked. You know what I'm saying? We need to realize that, and we need to take effect into that. So yeah, terrorism would be an example, would be the police force. Basically the new generation KKK. Is that a reach? Maybe so. White supremacy equals black terrorism. And you know, we still have things like lynching and stuff still going on in America today. And yeah, that is it. Just kind of wanted to spread some awareness on some black history. Have a good day. Stay blessed. Support a black person today.